Uh, so I have a little bit of time still before, I'll get sued for being, no, not being, but making noise, because it's pretty late here. So, Lawyer's Outpost, situated in the largest gap through the shield walls of that mountain range north of, what was that other place? Alanak. The outpost is an important strategic location for both war and trade. To the north of the outpost, the North Road runs between cliffs leading to both the Northlands and the Tablelands. Tablelands. At the south, the Red Desert is an ever-changing land of storm-swept dunes that conceal fearsome predators and mysterious ruins. To the southwest of the outpost and within a score of leagues is the best known of the ruins, sometimes referred to as the Blue Caverns or Defiler's Tomb. Yes, to the southwest of the outpost, not the outpost itself. I got confused again. Sometimes referred to as the Blue Caverns or the Defiler's Tomb, this large area is much talked about but rarely explored. Quiet stories are spread of the ghost that supposedly haunts these caves and steals the life from those who had trespass into its domain. Rumors of walls of whirling blades that rove the caverns seeking victims, lands of extreme cold that numb and burn without leaving a mark, and the feeling of lip-sucking life force from those that venture there are all common. The road leading northwards from the outpost is a natural ambush site for bandits, raiders, and predators. Corpses are not uncommon, often left hanging on outcroppings of rock, and weary travelers do not dare pass alone. The road leading south is patrolled by groups of fierce Gith warriors who are often organized enough to ambush small groups. Unlike the northern road, the southern is generally kept clean of corpses both by carrion eaters and the scouring winds. To the northeast lie the Tanmuark lands, fiercely guarded by the gypsy inhabitants, who usually provide poachers only a single warning, if at all, before killing them. The Tanmuark. Actually, what is a gypsy? I have to check again. Come on. I don't have all day. Unlike the northern road, clean of corpses. And the northeast lie the Tanmuark lands. Oh. What are you doing? I told you to translate the word. The outpost itself is protected by two sets of walls. Between these walls is a bailey. Visitors enter from either the northern or southern outer gates before making their way along the bailey to the western inner gate. I should... Okay, you don't want to work. Use a different translation thing. First this, okay, and then Bailey. Did I write that correctly? Bailey. Interesting. Also, sometimes I believe I have seen this word used with interesting, but you're worthless, EU dict. Okay. It's some kind of defense. Passive defense. I don't know what kind of a passive defense exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that. From here, Steel Road runs straight east to the center of the outpost. To the south of the road lies the Lure's outpost market yard, a bazaar where traders from across the known world gather to exchange gossip and sell their goods. North of the market yard is the Storm's End Tavern, which provides accommodation for travelers and boasts a spice den and a pleasure den as well as the main tavern. The main section of the outpost covers the entire eastern side. Here are the barracks of House Kurag, the homes of those who work for Kurag, and the House Kurag family estate. Society. The only permanent residents of Lure's outpost are the family members and employees of House Kurag. The house is the only one of the great merchant houses to have its own major outpost, and also the only house which welcomes people of every civilized race into its employ. Like employees, visitors come from all over the known world, representing every race and culture, the outpost particularly serving as a point for human and elven tribes to come together for trade. While this mixture sometimes causes tension, the Feast of Kurag, its military, keeps the outpost peaceful for the most part. And there are other things than conflict to occupy visitors. Nearly everywhere you go in the post, you'll smell the pungent scent of someone smoking a spice. House Kurag's main ware. Gambling, prostitution, and heavy drinking also feature prominently in this frontier outpost's entertainment. Economy. The only real economy of the outpost is trade. The riches of Kurag, second wealthiest of the merchant houses, flows back to here as does the trade from scores of tribes. While many of the elven tribes see the smaller elven trading post in the tablelands as the primary market, human tribes as many other elven tribes sell their wares in the yard at the outpost. Also, all trade between the Northlands and the Southlands passes through the outpost, often doing brisk sales while resting on their journey. The raiders and bandits that prey on this trade also often come to the outpost to sell their ill-gotten gains and buy supplies and drink. As long as they do not practice their professions too close to the outpost itself, Kurag turns a blind eye to these people, making Luir's outpost a rough place where some of the worst scum of Salanfas can be found. Government. House Kurag is run by a ruling council, and they also control the outpost. Few outside of Kurag know who is on this council, and those in Kurag will not answer such questions other than perhaps with a sword for those overly curious. The enforcement of the law in the outpost is carried out by the military of the house. They can be easily identified by their dun-colored cloaks. What's done? Is this working yet? Ah, it is. it was just temporary. So gray, mixture of gray and brown. Okay. Where was I? Somewhere where was done. Here. They can be easily identified by their dun-colored cloaks. Military leaders wear special leather armbands branded with signs of Krag, as well as patches or boards on their shoulders to identify their ranks. It is well known that sergeants wear patches while those higher in ranks wear boards of various design. The business of the house is handled by black-cloaked merchants and agents, and those wearing more ornate cloaks, black with scarlet trim or scarlet with black trim, are senior in rank and should be treated with as much respect as nobles in the city-states. Certainly few military personnel would hesitate to cut down anyone insulting Krag by dealing roughly with these illustrious people. Those wearing robes of embroidered grey and scarlet are family members of some note and should likewise be treated with respect. Family members are often addressed with the honorific suffixes da or di for males and females respectively. The outpost attempts to remain neutral with regards to both Alanak and Tuluk, although alliances are often made and just as often broken. Known for being somewhat disreputable, the House Krag is not truly trusted by many, although its wealth and the usefulness of its services and goods means that it is generally tolerated. In general, common sense applies to dealings within the outpost. Those going about heavily cloaked or veiled when no storm blows will be seen as suspicious and may be detained, and similarly, those openly wielding weapons may be seen as potential troublemakers. In general, the best advice is to do nothing to attract the attention of the military, especially since many of them use a variety of spices that might make them more aggressive and less rational than the common soldier. One law of note is that insulting House Krag is considered treason, much like insulting the High Lord Tectolnes would be in Alanak. Our laws come and go, and one of the best ways to learn the current regulations is to consult Kragi personnel in the inn. And the Red Storm. Tuluk is the last one, even though it was the other major city-state, I believe, of this land. What was this land's name? Zalanofus? Probably. Redstone Village. Redstone is the largest village in the far south of the known world. It is in the middle of desert wasteland that frequently howls with raging sandstorms, but is nevertheless a desirable place because of the mind-altering spice that can be sifted from deposits in the sand. To the south is the Sea of Silt, also known as the Sea of Eternal Dust, which can only be navigated with silt skimmers. To the east is a small, inaccessible village, imaginatively called Redstone East. Not far to the north is the massive city-state of Alanak. Life in the village is grim. People can make a quick coin by gathering spice, but it is often a fruitless and demanding task. The mixture of elation and depression on the faces of the spice hunters as they come back into the village after a long day sifting through the sands mirrors the bittersweet nature of life here. The abysmal weather makes for an unpleasant living. Still, many find greater freedom here than they do in other places, particularly Alanak. While these soldiers wield life and death authority on anyone who steps inside the walls, they do not impose themselves arbitrarily in the way that city-state Templars often do. Most of the people in Redstone Village are outcasts of one sort or another. Many raider bands operate out of the village, though the Sandlord does not tolerate raiding close to the village. Escaped gladiators and other slaves may be considered higher profile, but they do not make up the majority of the village population. Most civilians in a Redstone Village are spice hunters, farmers, vegan personnel, or Kraki personnel. While the Kraki have a high profile in the village, they are not the law. While it would be fair to say that most people in a Redstone Village are at least nominally anti-Alanak, there is no changing the fact that Alanak provides a major source of income for the Sandlord, and so people just keep quiet and get on with their lives. Most who live here have been through hard times and know better than to complain when they have at least a roof over their heads and bread to eat. Economy. The biggest natural resource in the area is spice, so House Krag maintains a significant presence in the village. It is not the biggest business in the village, however. The biggest business in the village is the Sandlord's own operation, which supplies wheat to other parts of the known world, most notably Alanak. Large wagons travel regularly from Redstone Village to the east, to a place known as Redstone East. Very few people have actually been there, but it seems to be another large village that grows wheat. Very few people have actually been there, but it's another large village. How is that possible? It doesn't make sense. If it's a large village that pretty much tells us that people live there, and also it grows wheat, so that also gives us suspicion to gives us a reason to suspect there are people living there. And it is also under the Sandlord's rule. Vegans also make regular trips northwards, bringing grain to supplement the Alanaki farms. Government. Redstone Village has old but strong stone walls and is heavily guarded by the Sandlord, its mysterious never-seen ruler and his militia. The Redstone militia are a rough but capable force, and they have a somewhat erratic view on some things. Generally speaking, if you are caught committing a crime in the Redstone Village, your life is at stake. The militia recognize that not all outbursts need to be punished by having your head on a stake. However, brawling in the tavern is normally something that is ignored. Or not if it turns into heavy fighting. The general rule in Redstone Village is that you leave everyone else alone, and they leave you alone. It is rumored that several of the high-ranking militia were former gladiators or slaves. While the Sandlord allows people like magicians into his village, any casting of spells or use of other strange powers in the village or the immediately surrounding area is a crime. In any case, such people tend to hide their identities well, because although the Redstone militia may leave them alone, there is no guarantee that a band of raiders will not be waiting for them a few leagues out of the village. The same goes for anyone openly belonging to one of the Alanaki noble houses or other such groups. They will be left alone while in the village unless they cause trouble, but there will likely be several hostile people waiting for them some distance outside, since many of the citizens here are escapees from the oppression of Alanak, and hate their former oppressors with vengeance. Vengeance! Village though it is, there are many alleys and small paths in Red Storm, and some of these can be extremely dangerous. Just because violence is frowned upon by the militia does not mean that they will always be there to protect innocent passers-by. As mentioned above, the law can be erratic, but sometimes it just takes time for the law to catch up with someone being stupid. One of the main lessons you've learned growing up in Red Storm is that the smart thing to do is leave others alone and not ask too many questions, in case you annoy the wrong person. Okay, I'll stop here.